I'm Guy Goulet. I'm the CEO of Cerro de Pasco Resources, company that will be listed this week on the Toronto Stock Exchange Venture. Shareholders of Cerro de Pasco Resources owns what we estimate to be the largest above-ground mineral resource on the planet. We estimate there's 430 million ounces of silver equivalent in the tailings.
Guy, good to see you. Nice to meet you, actually.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for the invitation.
Now, we're in Toronto. We're at the PDAC conference. It looks like it's set for a very busy few days here. You're going to be one of the newest stories that everyone is talking about. Why have you chosen the Toronto Exchange to list on?
Well, first of all, I used a shell at the time that was listed on the Canadian Stock Exchange to roll these assets in. Okay, and I realized that, a lot of the people in Europe that I meet just cannot buy stock on the Canadian Stock Exchange. I don't say it's a bad exchange. It's just my European network cannot buy on the Canadian Stock Exchange. So we're moving exchange now.
Okay.
We'll be listed this week on the Toronto Stock Exchange Venture. Yeah. And as soon as we get measured resources, we're going to go on the big board.
Right. Okay. Well, I like these stories. I like what your business is, but maybe start with describing for everyone the business plan that you have.
Okay. Well, first of all, Matthew, I'm going to explain to you what Cerro de Pasco. Cerro de Pasco, it's a community in the Andes of Peru. It's 4,400 meters above sea level. 67,000 people live there. Okay. The Spanish discovered a mine. They saw a big mass of lead, zinc, copper, gold, and silver back in 1630, and they started to operate that mine. That mine has never stopped its operation since. I don't know one mine on the planet that has such a statistic. In 1906, Mr. J.P. Morgan himself made what they still call the greatest investment of the 20th century in Peru. He invested tens of millions of dollars into that project. Mm-hmm. The Americans have sent to Cerro de Pasco the best geologists, the best metallurgists, the best engineers, the best equipment. Cerro de Pasco became the school of all the mine on the planet. Cerro de Pasco became the cash cow of the country. Cerro de Pasco became the largest gold, copper, silver mine in the world. So they extracted from that pit 300 million tons over the years. Some of it was processed and put in a tailings. Mm-hmm. Some of it was stockpile. So these tailings contain 75 million tons of material that have been processed with a recovery of 60% kind of. And then I can explain to you later in the presentation why the recovery was so bad. So what we own that mineral resource above ground. We own the permit on these tailings and these stockpile. Yeah. Okay. So we own what the mineral rights or what we estimate to be the largest above ground mineral resource on the planet. So we drilled it. Uh-huh. We have announced 30 holes out of 40. Okay. But before we did an intense due diligence. Okay, we were to buy that mine in 2020. By the way, the mine belongs at the time to Volcan, which was owned by Glencore. The pit was shut down, so Glencore has no more interest because no more offtake. So they were looking for a buyer. Since we had that enormous resources, we were the only one to keep the operation running, and maybe for 20 years. Yeah. So we were the ideal candidate to buy that mine. And in 2020, after an intense due diligence, we were ready to do an agreement with Volcan Glencore. But the agreement involved a stream on silver. Amount $140 million US. Okay? It's okay. We got the 2 flotation facilities that we need. We were to sign that in March 2020. What happened in March 2020? COVID. All the mines in Peru were shut down. Peru was the most affected country per capita in the world. So for us, no ore, no money, no stream, no deal. So we end up not signing a deal. So to close my parenthesis, I come back to, we did that intense due diligence, and we know precisely what has been processed from compiling from 1906 until 1992, all the monthly report. We know the recovery, so we know precisely what is left in these tailings. So we drilled 40 holes lately, and we published 32 of them. We're exactly where we were expecting to be, except we have a big surprise, a big one.
Gallium?
Gallium. We got the gallium. We've got 2 ounces so far of gallium per ton. Just turn on the
That
TV.
changes plans a bit?
Well, now we know we have gallium for the past 2 months, okay? So,
It's thinking.
no, but again, open the TV, Trump and Ukraine and China and US, gallium, like it's gallium become a strategic, such a strategic mineral.
Right. But you've got to, what you've got to do is, obviously, you're not going to knee-jerk reaction. You've got to think about this because you want to know if there's enough there to be economic. You want to know if there's enough to maybe change the emphasis of where you start, etc. You've got a lot of material on the ground, the biggest on-surface deposit in the world. So how do you go about that thinking? How do you work out, I've got to get this right and not react to, market sentiment?
So what we're doing, Matthew, now, we have money. Okay, we have money. A lot of money came from Eric Sprott, by the way. Okay, so
Was he 5 million?
no, he put all together a lot more than that. He participated to the last 3 financing.
Okay.
Plus, he is in the market. He's he owns almost 20. He owns almost 20% of the shares.
Right. Okay.
So we have money now. We've got those 2 facilities that are neighbor to those tailing and stockpile. Okay, they're old facilities with old Jameson cells in. We did some tests historically, okay, and we know we can recover 41.5% of the metals.
Okay.
Okay,
How? What process?
flotation.
Flotation. Okay, right.
So the flotation cells are already there. Vulcan are still operating those flotation cells. I don't know if they make money with them, but they don't want to shut them down because they got to go into a closure plan. This is going to cost them crazy
business
money.
model there, right? Yeah.
Or they have an option. We use there's 200 million tons right there.
Yeah.
Okay, and by the way, this project going on will create the wealth back into the community.
Right.
By the way, that mine used to employ, I repeat, 67,000 people living there.
Yeah.
That mine used to employ 7,000 people. So 7,000 people, it's also 5,000 indirect job.
Yeah.
So you tell me what else you do in Cerro de Pasco at 4,400 meters above sea level.
Leave.
Okay, it's a good point.
That's what
It's a good
people
point.
will do.
With my colleague Steven Zadka lately, we're talking with they call him the Presidente. It's a mayor of the community, okay? And he told us, he says, we all want to send our children to college and university in Lima.
Yeah.
We just don't have the money anymore. And he's pointing out that stockpile and these tailing. And
Money.
he says, this is what's going to send the children to school. So it's a pro-social project. Plus it's a pro-environmental project.
It's a remediation as well.
It's remediation.
It's all good.
So every day it snows or it rains, since there's so much pyrite in these tailing and stockpile, it produces acid water.
Yeah.
It's well controlled,
Yeah.
but there's a cost to that. Okay? It's so we're going to assume at some point the cost of treating the water.
Yeah.
Okay? And in 20 years, there's no more acid water because we have reprocessed all those stuff.
This is the bit of story that I really like. I like this bit, but we got to focus on the economics first, okay?
Okay.
So we've done some drilling and there's some metallurgical work there. How do you go from that to the starting the revenue streams, because it should be relatively simple. So let's start with maybe permitting, processing, any kind of regulation around doing this.
So with what we have so far, those 30 holes I told you, they are exactly what we were expecting. That gives you an in situ value of $168 US per ton.
Okay.
Okay, so you've got let's say recovery at 41% using the neighbor facility.
Yeah.
Treatment charge, refinery charge, average 28%.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So you go down. The OPEX, it's only $10 per ton because there's no mining.
No.
Okay? That's the beauty of that also, because today mining, producing base metal and precious metal, 40% of the cost is mining.
Yeah.
There's no mining there. It's above ground. A little bit of polishing. And so we end up doing that. We end up at kind of a $50 profit per ton. Okay. On 75 million ton, you're going to end up with life of mine, $3.1 billion profit. So it's $145 million US profit per year. So here I'm talking silver, zinc, lead, copper, and gold. Okay? So that's the basic plan.
So they're all recoverable and all payable. You get credits for all of those.
Well, they will not give you too much on the gold, but we're going to end up like from our model, we end up at $145 million. But now, because of this gallium and indium coming in, so it's... we're doing a lot of scoping study. Are we building our own plan? Okay? Building our own plan going to cost us $250 to $300 million. Okay? The recovery should increase to 70%, up to 72%, up to 75% either. So that make your profit of $143 million US per year move up to $700 million per year, increasing the capacity from 10,000 ton per day to 20,000.
Have you done the work on that increased recovery, or was that pay for at the moment?
We're on it right now.
Oh, you're on it right now. Okay.
So we finished the drilling. So how we drilled those 40 holes, we got like a core. We're freezing the core. We're splitting the core in half. Half of it goes for assaying. Half of it goes for metallurgical tests, but a lot of metallurgical tests. We evaluate it's going to cost us altogether $9.3 million US to complete that study.
In what time frame? Quickly?
If I say Q4 2025, it's too ambitious. It's going to be Q1 2026.
Okay. That's fine. And okay, so that's not a lot of money. So that's the good news, I guess. In terms of coming back to that kind of, you got social license because they want the money to send their kids to college, etc. In terms of federally, in terms of permitting, etc. How's Peru to work in from that regard?
So you know why all the big companies are in Peru? Because when you pay your tax, you have no problem with permitting. Okay, so we have the permit to do the exploration.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is no problem. We will get a second permit because if you look on our PowerPoint presentation, you will see we got a permit on a rectangle, but these tailings are expanding a little bit on the side.
Yep.
Okay, so now in Peru, it's formal. You have to follow a protocol. So we had that permit. Okay, so the government kind of asked us, please prove us that this is there. Okay, because we show them, but our results are exactly the same as we were expecting, except now we've got the gallium and the indium in. Okay, so you understand, for the government, communities are very powerful in Peru, so government wants the community to be happy. Okay, so the community wants us to move forward on that. Government will get 28% of income tax on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I guess because of the kind of remediation component of this, you're not going to get too much pushback. No interference from NGOs, no interference from locally because of the social license that you have. What happens to the land when it is, because there's a long life of mine. Okay, there's a big project. It'll keep going, but when you eventually do get to that point where you have recovered and remediated, who owns the land at that point? You've got everything on the surface, but who owns the surface?
So the community own the land.
Okay.
The community own the land. So we will fix that, you understand?
Yeah.
The most important is, as much as we treat material, the less acid waters produce.
Exactly, yeah.
It's the volume, like the water going on that volume of pyrite, that's what's create the acid water. So now we're checking the option. Where are we going to send the left material? Are we going to throw this back in the pit?
Yeah.
By the way, there's still $1 billion of silver, 1 billion ounce of silver equivalent in the pit.
Who owns that?
Cerro de Pasco.
Okay.
Volcan, sorry.
Volcan. Right, okay.
Okay.
So they don't want you throwing things in the pit.
Because at some point you cannot move those houses anymore. That mine originally was built with a shaft.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you build mine like that, you put the gym house there, the cafeteria, the school, the hospital, the clinic, everything grows around the shaft. And at some point, when Mr. J.P. Morgan made the investment, they say, "Whoa, we're seated on the mine." So they start moving those houses.
Yeah.
But now, at some point, you got to respect such a strip ratio.
Yeah.
You cannot move those houses anymore. In 2025, even if the house costs $5,000, move the family, it's going to cost you $250,000 per family.
Times have changed.
But I would be intent, we're talking about NGOs. We're doing everything good.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's why I like these projects.
Yeah,
We've got a couple of projects, one in South Africa, and we've got another country, and Botswana as well. I think these are fantastic. And this is really helpful for mining more broadly, not just because it's the right thing to do, but that remediation, that it can be beneficial to everyone living there financially too, as well. Can I just talk about, I know we're going to run out of time as well, so I'm conscious of your time. You've got places to be. With regards to the technology, it's relatively simple technology. I've looked at your marketing work. There's no proprietary technology here. Nothing to prove from that sense, right?
So there's two answers here. The gallium we're studying.
Yes.
The gallium, like it's new.
You'll come back and tell us all about it.
It's not a gimme. It will not be a gimme, by the way.
For sure.
The gallium is gallium, but probably some off-taker will pay for the gallium and the concentrate. They got the process for that.
Yeah.
We're working on that, different metallurgical study. The other one, it's very simple flotation. Why the recovery was so bad? Okay, so first of all was 1906 technologies. The reagents were not so good. Technology and plus the grinding was not appropriate, we read. But more than we read in these reports, okay? When you do flotation, you recover rapidly 60% of the metals within 24 hours. Okay? So go back in time. This was a machine to print cash. They were extracting, that was the largest mine in the world. They were extracting from that pit every day 20,000 tons. They were processing 13,000 tons. They were stockpiling 7,000 tons.
Wow.
Okay? The next day there's 20,000 tons there. And the next day there will be 20,000 tons there. So when you do flotation, you recover 60% in 24 hours. If you do flotation for 72 hours, you're going to recover up to 85, 87%. Why should they?
Yeah. It was the most efficient way to get them as much. It's high grading, we would call it today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why they were throwing that rich material away. That is why this is the richest tailings on the planet.
Oh.
No, so it's, to answer the first part of your question, simple flotation.
Simple flotation, okay.
And then the gallium, we'll see. We might have to do hydrometallurgy. I don't know. We don't know yet.
Yeah.
As I mentioned to you, it's 2 months now. We know we have so much gallium in there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's exciting. On the gallium side, I'd love to have you come back and tell us more about what's happening there. Certainly, when you get a sense of what the economics could be For sure. Okay, but so just on the if we stick with this simple version of this without the gallium right now, what sort of accelerated plan do you have? Do you have an accelerated plan or time frame to actually start producing cash? Because it is in many ways very, very simple. If you've got the social license, if the technology is already there, everything's sitting at surface waiting for you guys to go. What are the kind of barriers to moving quickly?
Okay. So you remember I showed you the $145 million profit versus 700 million. Okay. So if we have all the ingredients right now, we know the material is there. We've got the money to do the feasibility. It's like a spaghetti sauce. You want to do it too fast, it's not going to be good. So we just have to make no mistake here. Let's go step by step. Mineralogy, metallurgy. Okay, it will take time. Environmental study. There's a lot of study to do. Okay, and we have to know where the silver is it's cut in the pyrite. We got to drill the pyrite. We're doing so many works right now. It's going to take at least, I would say, 18 months before we take a decision where we're going.
Okay.
We're not going to rush that good material to the neighbor facility just to get cash flow. Okay? The market will pay us on the feasibility study.
Oh.
No rush to because I've got a lot of shareholder calling. When do we start production? Like, let's just throw this material in the neighbor facility.
But I like to hear this, right? You're going to manage expectations, set expectations, because if everything is based on fantasy and not reality, at some point it all falls over, right? I think so. I like what you're saying, certainly on time frame and also attitude to this, and I like the fact that this ultimately ends up as a remediation of what was a lot of mining, but there's a lot of leftover that needs dealing with. And if you can make some money from it, this is good news.
Yeah. Well, I repeat, so many winning conditions. Create wealth back in the community. Take care of the acid. No more acid water in 20, 25 years. Big check to the government of Peru. We might even produce sulfuric acid with the pyrite. There's so much pyrite. They need sulfuric acid, by the way. They cut their relation with Russia, so they need sulfuric acid for fertilizer.
Everywhere does.
There's so many winning conditions here.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you making time to come see us and tell us a story. Thank you very much. And please stay in touch.